First contact and fear. The emergency alert chimed through the vast chamber of the Galactic Alliance Council for the third time in a single rotation. High Commander Vrixel of the Zinthari Protectorate, current head of the Alliance Security Council, flicked his secondary eyes in annoyance while his primary pair remained fixed on the holographic display. Repeat the analysis, he ordered, mandibles clicking in what his species considered a calming rhythm. Senior Analyst Mila, a Solari whose bioluminescent skin pulsed with anxiety, gestured at the projection. The readings are confirmed, High Commander. The vessel entered restricted sector Gamma 9 approximately 14 hours ago. Its energy signature matches nothing in our database, but its trajectory and behavior suggest deliberate movement rather than drift. And you believe this is of human origin. Vrixel's voice carried the weight of centuries of caution. Humans were still newcomers to the galactic stage, discovered only 26 cycles ago, when their primitive radio signals were detected by a routine survey mission. The Alliance had chosen to observe rather than establish contact, following standard protocol for pre-FTL civilizations. Except the humans hadn't followed the expected developmental timeline. Not even close. The quantum signature contains elements consistent with theoretical models based on intercepted human communications about their propulsion research, Mila confirmed. And there's this. The hologram shifted, displaying a magnified image of the vessel. Unlike the smooth, efficient designs favored by Alliance engineers, this ship was angular and asymmetrical. Most concerning were the protrusions along its hull that matched no known scientific instrument. Weapons platforms, stated General Corvin of the Brecken Defense Force. The massive reptilian leaned forward, scales bristling. Those are weapon mounts, primitive but undeniably designed for combat. A murmur rippled through the council chamber. The idea that humans had not only achieved FTL capability, but had immediately armed their ships was disturbing. It contradicted everything the Alliance had observed about species development. That remained speculation, cautioned Ambassador Lyrell of the Aetheri Conclave. Her voice, transmitted through her environmental suit, carried the melodic tones of her gaseous species. We must consider all possibilities before acting rashly. Vrixel gestured acknowledgement but turned back to Mila. What is its current heading? That's the most concerning aspect, High Commander. It appears to be on a direct course for the Nexus trading hub. The chamber fell silent. The Nexus was the Alliance's central trade station, home to over 1 million citizens from dozens of species, and the economic heart of this sector. Time to arrival? Vrixel asked. At current velocity, approximately 48 hours. Corvin slammed a clawed hand on the council table. We must mobilize the defense fleet immediately, if the humans are hostile. And if they're not, interrupted Lyrell. If this is a peaceful contact attempt, meeting them with warships could provoke the very conflict we wish to avoid. A species doesn't build warships for peaceful contact, Corvin growled. You don't know their warships, Lyrell countered. Enough, Vrixel commanded. This situation requires both caution and decisive action. I propose a three-pronged approach. First, we quietly evacuate non-essential personnel from the Nexus. Second, we position defense forces at strategic locations, but not in direct intercept paths. And third, we dispatch a diplomatic vessel to establish first contact. The council chamber erupted in overlapping arguments. Ambassador Tezik of the Voltraxian meritocracy raised all four of his arms for attention. Who would you send on such a mission, High Commander? This could be the most significant first contact in centuries, or a deadly trap. Vrixel's compound eyes shifted to the far corner of the chamber, where a small, unobtrusive figure had been silently observing. Dr. Ilara, Tzoni. The figure stepped forward, revealing a Vendithi female with characteristic silver-blue skin and delicate cranial ridges. The Vendithi were among the oldest Alliance species and renowned for their diplomatic skills and impressive lifespans. At nearly 300 years old, Ilara was considered young by her species standards, but had already distinguished herself as a brilliant xenoanthropologist. "High Commander," she asked, her voice calm despite the tension in the room. "You've studied the humans more extensively than anyone in the Alliance. You understand their psychology, their history, their tendencies. Would you lead this contact mission?" Ilara considered for a moment. "Their history is filled with both remarkable cooperation and devastating conflicts. They are paradoxical, capable of great empathy and terrible destruction. But yes, I believe I can establish meaningful communication." "This is madness," Corvin protested. "We know nothing about their intentions. Precisely why we must learn more before taking military action." Vrixel countered. "Dr. Tusoni will depart immediately with a small team on our fastest diplomatic vessel. The Celestial Envoy can reach the human ship before it approaches the Nexus." As the Council continued debating details, news of the human vessel spread quickly through Alliance communication channels. By the time Ilara boarded the Celestial Envoy 12 hours later, rumors had transformed the human ship into a monstrous weapon of war. On the private observation deck of his luxury habitat ring orbiting Nexus, Trade Baron Zordon Vex reviewed the classified security briefing he'd purchased from a council aide. The Carcadian merchant's 8 eyes narrowed as he calculated potential profit margins. Whether this ended in peace or war, there was money to be made. He activated his secure communication array. "Begin purchasing defensive technology stocks," he instructed his financial AI, "and double our investment in information networks. The first accurate details about human technology will be worth fortunes." Meanwhile, aboard the Celestial Envoy, Ilara assembled her contact team. Linguistic specialist Norin Paz, a Solari whose adaptive vocal organs could reproduce virtually any sound. Cultural interpreter Sora Kale, one of the few Terran descent humans raised in Alliance space after her ancestors were rescued from a damaged colony ship generations ago. And security coordinator Talag Forn, a Kitarian whose reflexes and tactical mind were legendary. "Our primary objective is peaceful contact," Ilara reminded them as their ship accelerated toward the intercept point. "But we must be prepared for any response." Sora, the human specialist, frowned at the briefing materials. "These weapon assessments seem speculative at best. I'm not convinced this is a warship at all." "Based on what?" Talak asked, his feline features showing skepticism. "The configuration. Look at these energy readings. They're inconsistent with weapons systems as we understand them." Ilara studied the data more closely. "What do you think they indicate?" "I'm not sure," Sora admitted, "but humans tend to be efficient. Multiple-use designs. If I had to guess, I'd say these are more likely research instruments than weapons." Norin's skin pulsed thoughtfully. "The Alliance has misunderstood species intentions before. The Garax incident nearly led to war over what turned out to be a cultural ceremony. This is different," Talak insisted. "The restricted zone entry was deliberate, and humans have a well-documented history of warfare. So do most species before achieving unity," Ilara pointed out, "including the Kitarian." Talak's ears flattened briefly before he nodded acknowledgement. 26 hours later, the Celestial Envoy sensors detected the human vessel at close range for the first time. "By the ancestors," whispered Norin as the image clarified on their view screen. The human ship was smaller than Alliance vessels of comparable function, perhaps 1/5 the size of the Envoy itself. Its hull was dark, absorbing rather than reflecting surrounding starlight. The mysterious protrusions were indeed present, but now they could see these structures were arrayed in patterns that suggested scientific instrumentation rather than weapon placements. Most surprising was the complete absence of external markings. Alliance vessels prominently displayed identification, affiliation, and purpose designations. This ship was anonymous. "Are they responding to hails?" Ilara asked. "Nothing yet," Norin confirmed. "I've transmitted in standard Alliance formats, and what we believe are current human communication protocols. They see us, Talek noted, pointing to sensor readings. Their scanners are active. Very precise targeting. Targeting? Sora questioned, or just examining. Before anyone could respond, the communication system activated. A human face appeared on the main display, pink-skinned with short brown hair and facial features that Ilara recognized as female according to human sexual dimorphism. This is Captain Sophia Chen of the Earth vessel Pathfinder. We acknowledge your approach and welcome communication. Please identify yourselves. The human spoke in her native language, English, one of Earth's dominant tongues, but the Alliance translation algorithms rendered it perfectly. More surprising was the calm, professional demeanor. There was no hint of surprise at encountering an alien vessel. Ilara stepped forward. I am Dr. Ilara Sony, diplomatic representative of the Galactic Alliance. We have approached to establish formal contact and inquire about your presence in this sector. The human captain's expression remained composed, but Ilara detected subtle changes in her facial muscles indicating interest. The Galactic Alliance, Captain Chen repeated. We suspected organized interstellar civilization existed in this region. Our mission is peaceful exploration and scientific research. Your vessel entered a restricted zone. Ilara explained carefully. Its design and approach caused some concern among our security specialists. Something flickered across the human's face. Amusement, perhaps. I apologize for any alarm we've caused. We detected unusual quantum signatures in this sector and diverted to investigate. We had no way of knowing it was restricted territory. Yet your ship appears to have military capabilities. Talek interjected, unable to contain himself. Captain Chen's expression shifted to what Ilara recognized as confusion. Military. The Pathfinder is a research vessel. We're scientists and explorers. Then what are these? Talek demanded, transmitting highlighted images of the mysterious protrusions. Those are our sensor array extensions and specimen collection systems, Chen explained, now looking slightly offended. They're delicate scientific instruments for analyzing stellar phenomena. The tension in the Envoy's command center eased slightly, but Ilara remained cautious. Captain Chen, we would like to request permission to send a small delegation aboard your vessel to establish formal diplomatic relations. The human captain hesitated for the first time. That's an unexpected request. Our protocols for first contact don't typically include immediate boarding. We understand your caution, Ilara assured her, but the Alliance has standard procedures for new species encounters. It would help alleviate concerns about your intentions. Captain Chen seemed to consult something off-screen before responding. Very well. We'll prepare for your arrival. You may bring 3 representatives. Please transmit any special environmental requirements. As the communication ended, Sora turned to Ilara with obvious concern. They agreed too easily. Humans are typically more protective of their territory. Perhaps, Ilara acknowledged, or perhaps they're genuinely interested in peaceful contact. Or it's a trap, Talek added grimly. Ilara considered both perspectives. We proceed as planned, but with caution. Sora, you'll accompany me as cultural interpreter. Talek, for security. Norin, maintain communication from here and be prepared to extract us if necessary. As they prepared for the shuttle transfer, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something important. The human ship simply didn't match Alliance intelligence assessments. Either human technology had developed along radically different lines than predicted, or the Pathfinder wasn't what it appeared to be. And as their shuttle approached the human vessel, a massive energy surge suddenly emanated from the ship, bathing the entire region in quantum radiation that momentarily disabled the Envoy scanning systems. What was that? Talek demanded, hand moving to his sidearm. The communication system activated again, showing Captain Chen's face, but now her expression had changed completely. Gone was the diplomatic caution, replaced by unmistakable urgency. Alliance vessel, we have a serious situation. That energy surge wasn't intentional. Our containment field is destabilizing. We need your assistance immediately. It was the moment of truth. Was this an elaborate trap, or was the human vessel genuinely in distress? And more importantly, what would happen when representatives of two civilizations that had never formally met were suddenly forced to cooperate in a crisis? Ilara made her decision. "We're coming aboard, Captain. Prepare for emergency assistance, understanding, and revelation." The Pathfinder's docking bay was surprisingly elegant despite its utilitarian purpose. Clean lines and efficient use of space spoke of a design philosophy that valued both function and form. As the Alliance shuttle completed its docking sequence, Ilara observed the small welcoming party through the viewport. 3 humans in matching dark blue uniforms, Captain Chen at the center. "Remember," Ilara cautioned her team, "we represent the entire Alliance. Our actions here will shape human perception of all member species. If we survive whatever's happening with their containment field," Talek muttered, checking his sidearm one final time before securing it in diplomatic configuration. Visible but locked. The shuttle's hatch opened, and the difference in atmosphere was immediately noticeable. Slightly higher oxygen content, traces of unfamiliar chemical compounds, and a distinct scent that Ilara's xenobiology training identified as uniquely human. Captain Chen stepped forward, offering a slight bow, a human gesture of respect that Ilara recognized from her studies. Up close, the captain was taller than expected, with alert eyes that carefully assessed each member of the Alliance delegation. "Welcome aboard the Pathfinder. I wish our first meeting could occur under better circumstances." Ilara returned the bow, adding the traditional Vendathi hand gesture of peaceful greeting. "Thank you for allowing us aboard, Captain. I am Dr. Ilara Tassoni. This is cultural interpreter Sora Kale and security coordinator Talek Forn." Chen's gaze lingered on Sora, obviously recognizing her human features despite her Alliance uniform and mannerisms. "You're human," she stated, surprise evident in her voice. "My ancestors were," Sora clarified. "They were rescued from a damaged colony ship 7 generations ago. I was born and raised in Alliance space." This information clearly startled the captain, but before she could respond, a voice came over the ship's communication system. "Captain, containment field degradation at 28%. Estimated time to critical failure, 17 minutes. Chen's demeanor shifted immediately from diplomatic to professional urgency. "We need to move quickly. If you'll follow me to the engineering section, Dr. Valerian can explain the situation." As they hurried through the ship's corridors, Ilara noted the efficient design and surprisingly small crew complement. Most Alliance vessels of similar size would carry at least 60 personnel. She counted fewer than 20 humans as they passed through several sections. "Your crew is quite limited," she observed. "The Pathfinder was designed for autonomy," Chen explained as they entered a lift. "Advanced systems handle most routine functions." Talek asked sharply. "Alliance protocols strictly regulated artificial intelligence after the Mechanist uprising 2 centuries earlier." "Not precisely," Chen answered carefully. "We use advanced automation with human oversight for critical systems." The lift descended rapidly, and Ilara felt the subtle shift in the ship's artificial gravity field, impressively stable for a vessel of this size. They emerged into a large chamber dominated by a pulsing cylindrical structure that extended from floor to ceiling. Blue-white energy flickered within it, contained by visible force fields that showed clear signs of instability. A tall human with dark skin and short gray hair approached immediately. "Captain, the auxiliary containment fields are failing faster than predicted. The harmonic resonance is amplifying exponentially." "Dr. Ilara Tassoni, this is Dr. Marcus Valerian, our chief scientist," Chen introduced quickly. "Doctor, the Alliance representatives may be able to help." Valerian turned to Ilara, scientific curiosity momentarily overriding the emergency situation. "Fascinating to finally meet representatives of the galactic community. Under better circumstances, I'd have 1,000 questions." "As would I," Ilara assured him. "But perhaps we should focus on the current crisis. Of course, Valerian gestured to the cylindrical structure. This is our quantum resonance drive, the technology that allows us to traverse interstellar distances. During our last transit, we detected unusual energy patterns that we diverted to investigate. When we entered this sector, the drive began experiencing harmonic interference from an unknown source. The restricted zone contains several quantum research facilities, Ilara explained. The interaction between their experiments and your drive technology was likely unforeseen by both parties. Valerian nodded. That would explain it. The resonance feedback is destabilizing our containment field. If it fails completely, the resulting quantum cascade could damage spacetime in this entire region. Talek stepped forward, alarm evident. You're saying your drive could create a local rupture in the fabric of reality? Potentially. Valerian confirmed grimly. We've been attempting to modify our containment algorithms, but the interference pattern is unlike anything in our experience. Sora had moved to a nearby console, studying the human ship's data displays with remarkable ease. These energy signatures are similar to Altarian phase technology. Alliance ships use stabilizing harmonic dampeners to prevent exactly this kind of interference. We have such systems aboard the Envoy, Ilara confirmed. They could potentially be modified to create a counter-resonance field. There isn't time to transfer and install new equipment, Chen stated, checking a display that showed rapidly deteriorating containment metrics. We don't need to transfer equipment, Ilara decided. Norin, are you monitoring this? She asked, activating her communication implant. Yes, Doctor, came the immediate response. I've already consulted with our engineering team. We can generate a targeted counter-resonance pulse from the Envoy, but we'll need precise calibration data from the human drive. Over the next tense minutes, human and Alliance personnel worked together with remarkable efficiency, sharing technical data and coordinating a response to the crisis. Ilara observed with interest how quickly the humans adapted to alien technology concepts, integrating them with their own understanding. Counter-resonance pulse configured, Norin finally reported. Initiating on your mark. Their containment field is at 12%, Valerian warned. This is our only chance. Initiate pulse, Ilara commanded. The Envoy released a precisely calibrated quantum field that washed over the Pathfinder. For a terrifying moment, the human ship's lights flickered, and the containment field around the drive core seemed to weaken further. Then, gradually, the dangerous oscillations began to stabilize. It's working, Valerian announced, relief evident in his voice. The interference pattern is dissipating. As the immediate danger passed, Ilara noticed Captain Chen and Dr. Valerian exchange a significant glance, one that suggested unspoken communication. There's something you haven't told us, Ilara observed quietly. Chen hesitated, then nodded. The quantum resonance drive isn't just our method of propulsion. It's also how we detected your civilization in the first place. I don't understand, Talek said, suspicion returning to his voice. Valerian stepped forward. The drive operates by establishing quantum links between distant points in spacetime. During testing, we discovered it could detect traces of similar technology being used elsewhere, like finding ripples from another stone thrown into the same pond. You came here deliberately, Ilara realized, not just to explore, but to find us. Yes, Chen admitted. Earth has been detecting faint quantum signatures from this region of space for decades. The Pathfinder was designed specifically to investigate their source. And your weapons systems, Talek demanded, were those designed for investigation as well? Chen looked genuinely confused. We carry standard defensive capabilities, but the Pathfinder is fundamentally a research vessel. What made you think otherwise? Ilara gestured to the external sensor images they had originally captured. These structures were interpreted as weapons platforms by our analysts. For the first time, both humans displayed amusement. Those are our long-range quantum sensors, Valerian explained. They're designed to detect and analyze the very signatures that led us here. This was all a misunderstanding, Sora concluded. The Alliance believed you were a military vessel entering restricted space with hostile intent. And instead, you found scientists looking for evidence of other intelligent life. Chen finished. Though I suspect neither of us expected first contact to happen quite this way. As the crisis fully abated, the atmosphere shifted from emergency cooperation to cautious curiosity. The humans offered to show the Alliance representatives more of their vessel, while Ilara shared basic information about the Galactic Alliance structure and member species. Your quantum technology is remarkably advanced for a species so newly capable of interstellar travel, Ilara observed as they toured the Pathfinder's research facilities. Most species develop conventional FTL methods before achieving quantum manipulation on this scale. Humans often develop technology in unexpected sequences, Chen explained. We tend to pursue multiple approaches simultaneously, rather than following linear progression. Inefficient, Talek commented. But effective, Valerian countered. It means we sometimes discover unexpected connections between seemingly unrelated fields. Later, in the Pathfinder's conference room, Captain Chen formally presented their mission parameters. Earth has known we weren't alone in the galaxy since we detected your quantum signatures. But our leadership wanted to understand what kind of civilization we'd be encountering before making official contact. A reconnaissance mission, Talek interpreted, old suspicions returning. An assessment, Chen corrected firmly. Humans have imagined countless scenarios of alien contact throughout our history, many of them involving civilizations that would view us as threats, resources to be exploited, or primitives to be conquered or uplifted. We needed to know what we were facing. Ilara considered this perspective. Your caution was justified. The Alliance has not always handled first contact situations optimally. Some member species were indeed incorporated under problematic circumstances in our earlier history. And how do you see us now? Chen asked directly. As potential allies, Ilara replied honestly. Your technology is different but complementary to ours. Your approach to problem-solving demonstrated during the containment crisis showed remarkable adaptability. The Alliance could benefit from human perspective, just as humanity could benefit from Alliance knowledge. As their meeting concluded and preparations were made for formal diplomatic proceedings, Ilara found herself conversing privately with Captain Chen on the Pathfinder's observation deck. Through the viewport, they could see both the Celestial Envoy and, in the distance, the first vessels of the Alliance defense fleet that had been cautiously approaching during their discussions. They really thought we were a warship, Chen mused, watching the distant Alliance cruisers. I suppose from a certain perspective, I understand the confusion. Perspective is everything in diplomacy, Ilara agreed. The Alliance has encountered species that developed interstellar travel specifically for conquest. Our caution comes from painful historical experience, and humanity's caution comes from imagination, Chen replied. We've spent centuries telling ourselves stories about first contact, many of them ending badly for us. Yet you came looking for us anyway, Ilara observed. Chen smiled. That's also very human. We can't help ourselves. We have to know what's out there, even when we're afraid of the answer. As they continued their conversation, emergency channels across Alliance space were broadcasting the news. The human vessel was not a threat, but a harbinger of new diplomatic relations. The panic that had been building gave way to curiosity and excitement. On the Nexus trading hub, Trade Baron Zorban Vex carefully adjusted his investment strategy as new information arrived. Human technology shares were already rising in value, and the potential for cultural exchange promised entirely new markets. His financial AI calculated unprecedented profit opportunities in facilitating human integration into the galactic economy. Meanwhile, in the Alliance Council chamber, High Commander Frixel reviewed Dr. Tassoni's preliminary report with growing interest. Humans had developed quantum technology along an entirely different theoretical framework than Alliance science. Their approach was less efficient in some ways, but had capabilities that Alliance engineers had never considered. The potential for technological exchange alone justified establishing formal relations. Back aboard the Pathfinder, preparations were underway for the first official diplomatic delegation from Earth to visit the Nexus. As Ambassador-designate Catherine Rivera reviewed her briefing materials, she wondered how humanity would adapt to this new reality. A galaxy filled with diverse intelligent life, complex political alliances, and technologies beyond Earth's current understanding. What no one yet realized was how profoundly human perspective would change the alliance itself in the coming years. The species that had been mistaken for aggressors would soon become known for something entirely different. Their unique ability to see connections where others saw only differences, to find creative solutions where others saw only established protocols, and to build bridges between civilizations that had remained separate for millennia. The misidentified warship had indeed brought change to the galaxy, not through force, but through humanity's most powerful weapon, a different way of thinking.